Alrighty, it's a tier 9 game. No artillery. They have more tank destroyers. You can still spot across this middle area here. It's usually not that profitable to drive all the way up here, but especially in a light tank, you can just kind of sit out in the open or in a bush over here, and you can spot any of the taller tanks. A lot of the shorter tanks, there's a ditch back here now, so a lot of the shorter tanks you'll miss. But particularly in a fast tank like the LTTB, you can hang out in this middle area, like anywhere in the middle of this square, along this line here, assuming that you've got a reasonable camo crew, and you can still spot all the way across pretty easily. And that'll usually get your guys a free shot or two, particularly as they pass through this area over here. The only thing that I don't like about coming to this bush over here is that you don't really see how this, you get cut off right there in terms of continuing to light things. So sometimes these guys, well, the slower ones will get through. I mean, you probably don't need to shoot there, but didn't hurt you, so alright. And then you want to look and see what your team is doing. You sent a lot of your guys to the ice road, so you want to maybe think about coming around through down here, or you can go through this middle to get down there, but it's a little bit more of a sketchy proposition. This T-28 Proto you could shoot. Ooh, or I wouldn't shoot now though, because the T-30 is in there. But you always want to look and see what your team is doing, right? You sent some guys down here, but this is not enough to win that southwest. Might as well get that shot on the T-28. So they got their type across. So you want to get out of there. I actually still think that you guys can do some damage through over on this side. There's not a whole lot of reason for you to hang out here. I'm surprised that type didn't spot you. But yeah, I would not hang out here, because you're probably going to lose this southwest. You're not controlling this middle. The only place that you've got is over here. And so, since you can't really push a line in a light tank, you want to play more of a support. Like, you're not helping your guys by keeping this T-30 lit, because nobody's shooting him. Until now. And it's too dangerous to push this type from this side, although you could kill him from this ice road side. So now all your guys are dead over here, which is pretty expected, actually. You probably don't want to drive in front of this T-69 like this, because you've got really no support here. You gotta be careful, because on one side of the rock the T-30 can shoot you, and on the other side of the rock the T-69 can shoot you. And again, like, this is not sort of the best use of your time. I mean, you don't want to just like sit and try to trade with mediums or high tier tank destroyers like that. You do have some guys headed over there, but they've gotten stymied. Your guys are starting to get pushed over here, so that's something that you have to be concerned about. And again, the idea is with a lot of light tanks is that you're not super useful in terms of pushing or defending or things like that. You're useful in being a pest and being an annoyance, being on somebody's flank, forcing them to have to drive out to have to deal with you or whatever. I would probably kill that super Pershing, because otherwise you guys might struggle. Like, you're the flank guy. For some reason I think the replay is bugging out, because I don't even see a reticle anymore. But like, you can get shots on these guys through the back here. You don't want to drive into this ditch right now, because the T-30 is still going to be right there. Looks like the T-30 moved over. The T-30 is probably over by the 704 now. You should still shoot that T-69. They're also through to your base, so you might want to turn around and start heading back there as well. little bit too much. You don't need to auto aim that. And see how your guys are retreating here? So you're going to need to go back at some point. This 704 is going to be guarding this alley now, so it's going to be difficult for you to leave. And you have to be careful because you can still get shot. Like those guys, you know those guys went through the bridge area. That's something probably you should have done a little bit earlier in terms of going back. But you guys should be able to do this still. I don't know where their 7-1 went. The 7-1 likely kept going through, maybe. You basically just want to leave those guys there and figure out a way that you can help out over here. Like, you don't want to try to assault people frontally in the LTTB. The tank's not really designed for that. Like, you want to be on the backside. Like, as this guy pushes in, you already want to be on his backside. Like, he's going to keep pushing through right there, so you can sit up here and shoot him. You need to be careful of this T-30 because he was wanting to push across that middle. He's right here. The problem with the LTTB is that it really doesn't have any depression at all. And you don't want to necessarily push through here because the 704 and T-30 are there. You want to take out the Centurion 7-1, right? Because he's getting your guys in flanking fire. So you want to try to deal with that. And like, this is a good use of your gun. Right, this is you being an annoyance, being a pest. And that's what you want. Right, so you're not the one taking that guy on frontally, but you're the one shooting him in the side, shooting him in the back. Like, that's how you want to use light tanks in these scenarios. And you want to try to maximize that as much as possible. I think you might have to take a hit from the 704 to try to beat him. If he's still here. Otherwise, I would actually go around to the backside over here. The 704 might have came around this way. Oh, look, there he is. That's good. Get to his back. Take your time. You got to be careful with auto aiming here so that you don't hit the back deck. You want to shoot into the that area right there. And of course, if he's just going to sit there, then that works. And then get around to the backside over here before the T-30 comes up. Man, I don't even really know how you lose this. And again, you can take a shot from the T-28, so it's not that big of a deal. You know that the T-28 is going to be over here. You can get shots onto the back of the KV-4 by going up onto this rock over here. Like, you don't need to shoot this T-28. Like, the T-28 is out of the game, right? He's not a threat to your team. You need to try to get this guy out before the T-30 gets here. So it's very easy to drive through here to get shots on the back of that KV-4, right? And the T-28 can't stop you. If only you were there a little bit earlier, your guys might not have potatoed. Oh, it looks like you're aiming now. And then you just want to bail. Like, if getting shot by the T-28 is fine, but you want to just get out. You just want to book and get out of here. Like, there's no reason for you to peek that. You should have just slid down this hill and just straight bailed. Because the T-30 is going to come up on you now, and that's the big concern. It's not like the T-28. It's not like any of these tanks can actually pursue you. They're just not fast enough. And so you don't want to hang out here. Just go for it. Just get out, man. You gotta risk it. You gotta risk it one way or the other. The only thing that you can't do is stay where you're at. Not fantastic, but at least you got away. And then so now what you want to do is you just want to basically retreat all the way to an area where you can spot them coming. And I would say probably up here would be fine. You could link up with the 69, but I don't think the 69 is going to be that useful. You can also sit out in the open over here, like in this area right here, because that way you can spot the bridge and across over there, like basically where this SP1C is at. Yeah, I don't know about going into here, because they've got to cross either right there or they're going to cross right here, right? It's going to be one or the other. And if you're going to come to this side, you should be over on this side over here where you can spot down that way. Like, you always have to have an escape route. Like, if you saw him crossing right there, what's your escape route, right? You need to make sure that you can get away. I don't think driving back here is going to be super helpful. And T-28 is probably still in the base someplace. Lol, go team. Oh, the T-30's there too, though. He's ready for you. I don't know. This is I think you've made some bad life choices. Yeah, that does not look very profitable. So the biggest problem, I mean, I thought you played that reasonably well. There's a couple of things that I'm gonna stop because you're just spamming there. I think there's a couple of things that you can do. I think coming here to spawn the early game is fine. Your team didn't really get many shots there, which is unfortunate. Your guys over here were not very good. Your guys that you sent to the southwest weren't very strong, right? And so they had actually more guys down there. You actually ended up winning down there, but that's neither here nor there. You didn't really have that many tanks. You sent most of your tanks over through this ice road, and I feel like a lot of times you tried to front too much with the light tank. You want to be in positions where, as their team is trying to deal with your buddies, your team, you want to be able to shoot them on the side, sort of like what you were doing with that Centurion 7-1 that tried to flank them there. In a sense, sort of what you tried to do with the Super Pershing in terms of driving past him, which was a risky move, but that worked out. And then, like, when you drove past that Super Pershing over here, make sure that you take him down because your team was struggling to deal damage to him frontally. And that's the advantage of being in a light tank or in a fast tank, is that you can get around to people's sides and just be a pest. You know, you don't have a very high alpha gun, you don't really have super awesome DPM, but you just want to be that little gnat that's just annoying, and you want to be annoying the entire game for as much as you possibly can. And you also need to identify which people are a threat to your team and which people are not a threat to your team. Like, I think the biggest mistake that you made in terms of winning or losing this game was not attacking into that KV-4 right there. The T-28 that was down here was not a threat to you, was not a threat to your team, but you spent far too much time preoccupied by him. The T-30 was in this ditch coming back through here, so you knew that you had a time-limited option. It really felt like you could have just shot that KV-4, potentially saved your guys down there, and then either they would have been able to move up or you just bail out through that side. And I think that would have been the biggest difference in the game. And then otherwise, you can't really predict that they're going to sit up here and camp for the rest of the game. It happens. But I think that was probably the biggest problem that you had. That, and you weren't aware that the T-30 was sitting there about to shoot you. But at that point, I mean, they're both camped there. What are you gonna do in a light tank? You're not gonna be able to wedge them out. So overall, again, like I said, try to take people on frontally less. Try to use your speed to reposition around to the sides of people more. I think you'll find that you'll be a lot more effective if you do that. And so, not surprisingly, that ends in a draw. Hurrahs. Can't believe those guys camped, but okay, whatevs. So you didn't really get a whole lot out of your team. I mean, I guess your team didn't do awfully, but you did pretty well. 20 of 32. The pen on the gun isn't super awesome. GG though, nice try. Alright, and the next one that we will do is Ravi's Lowe. This is a pity replay. Oh man, playing a Lowe with a M103? What? Alrighty, so you're in a tier 10 game, which is not super awesome, but you'll have to deal. Pretty much the only place that you can go is in town. The gun on the Lowe is very good. It's very accurate. It's got good pen. The tank itself is really slow. It's kind of big, doesn't really have any armor to speak of. So you probably want to get set up on this K line, you know, start driving up this K line, see what like your E100s and your IS-7 do. And then again, as we always talk about, you know, 30 to 60 seconds into the game, you want to see what your team is doing. Most of your team appears to be going city. You might have some scout that comes out here. That WZ-132 might play that 2-ish line. He might play the 1 line, we'll see. You've got a couple of your tier 10 mediums headed out there. And so what you want to do as you're sort of, since you're in a slow roll or driving up this K line, you want to keep an eye on the minimap, see what these guys see over here. This RU is out in the middle of the field, which is a pretty useless place to be. Unfortunately, this WZ-132 stock back here, which is not so great. So they got a 121 out there, which presumably means that both of those 121s are out there, and that the JPE is probably back over there. Which is fine, it's not a big deal. That's something that the WZ-132 could have sussed out for those guys. This guy's pushing forward, which is not advisable given what you've seen there. And the fact that you guys don't really have a whole lot of support out there. But, so you kind of look at that and you kind of think, okay, we might lose that side. You know, a lot of it depends on what these guys do back here. So you want to start thinking about, okay, well, maybe we'll need to go back at some point. And then see how everyone's like on this K line here. You want to be a little bit higher on this K line. Like you cut through here right now. Because that's going to allow you to protect these guys right here on that north side of the K line. And then see how they're heavy on this 0 line? That's good. That's good for you. The less people that they have on the 9 line, the better it is for the Southwest team, because it allows them to get through here for free and basically take up any positions that they want in here. Make that shot count. Oh yeah. And then you have to be careful because you can theoretically get hit by artillery in different areas in here, depending on what artillery they have. See how they've broken through this other side? So at this point now, you need to go back. Like that, it shouldn't even be like you're too slow, right? You can't get up here to engage effectively. You know you're losing the battle. And that's one of the things that we say is that as you're driving up here, particularly in these slower tanks, look and make sure that you can understand what's happening on the other side of the map. Because like right now, you're not helping your team. And if you're not helping your team, you're hurting your team. Because, I don't know if you've noticed, but you're getting trashed in the rear right now. You can shoot him through there, down a little more. Yeah, right through there. Now you can. But again, my point is that it would be very easy for these guys to cap you out. I'm guessing that they're not going to, which is their mistake, right? All they have to do is put cap pressure on, and it's very easy to screen this. And that's an easy win. So your guys are pushing straight up through here. You guys are dancing around here, which is not super awesome, but it's fine. And again, these guys are not capping, which means you need to be aware that they're going to come up on this line. Like, you're spending a lot of time here right now doing a whole lot of nothing. These guys will be able to come around the back theoretically eventually. Totally just farmed your platoon mate there. Shoot him in the drive wheel. And they're going to come up behind you on this K line, so you need to remember that. A little less auto aim. And you don't want to be right where you're at because you can get already through there, or I could already you through there. Your guys are still here, right? So you're just waiting for them to show up. Like, this is not the trade that you want. Like, you don't want to trade 1 for 1. Like, especially against a tier 10 tank. You're in a tier 8 tank, he's in a tier 10 tank. There's no reason for you to try to trade 1 for 1 against him. Even as bad as this guy is. Oh, look at that Lowe armor. Just unstoppable. You can still get RD'd where you're at. See now, see what this IS-3 is doing? Now this IS-3, that is the trade that you want. If you got to take a shot of damage to kill this 121, that's the trade that you want. You don't want to trade 1 shot of damage for 1 shot of damage if you're in the lower tier tank. Oh, now they're capping. The 1390's like, get to the cap. They have this game completely won, and they squandered it. But that's fine. That's the way these games go. I have no idea where their Centurion is. I wouldn't necessarily have sent the IS-7 back, but better safe than sorry. You still want to screen the back. With the Centurion's over here, you don't want him to get to the backside of the IS-7, for example. You don't really need to move that far forward to shoot the cap, especially if you knock down the buildings, which is unlikely that you did, but you should learn, especially in slow tanks. If you don't have anywhere that you need to be quickly, you want to knock shit down. It is the cardinal rule of highway on either side. You want to knock down, particularly, let's see, the building that the IS-7 is at right now, and then over on this side. Now here, I'll show you after. You should be able to shoot the 1390. It looks like he's sitting out there. No, the 1390! Do it! Do it! The fires are real. Oh, the bounces are real. You want to be careful backing up there because you can get arty through that lane right there. You're better off staying where you're at because at least the little water tower gives you some protection. Like, it would have been pretty easy to already use. You backed up through that little fence post layer. And it looks like it's just pretty much mop up. And then, so like in this type of situation, you want to be close to these guys, not like, you know, touching them, but you want to be like within 50 meters of these guys, so that whatever gets spotted, you know, you have multiple shots on. And so see how you're like all splitting up now. The IS-7 is going that way, the IS-3 is going this way, you're going this way. That's a risky proposition. You want to try to avoid splitting up in this situation. And he thinks you're not going to be able to get through there. And again, you want to be in a position where you can cover these guys. You don't want to fall too far back. You don't want to be too far away. Because once they spot something, you want to be able to be in a position where you can shoot it. Or if you spot something, you want them to be in a position where they can shoot it. You also want to try to avoid breaking stuff as much as possible. And knocking over trees. And then, again, see how they're splitting up? That's not good. Like, you want to be... This IS-3 wants to be close to the IS-7. The IS-7 wants to be close to the IS-3. You want to be... Because see how that guy was lit, right? He fired. So he... Not only was he lit, he fired. He used his shot. He's not going to be loaded for another 30 seconds. But nobody can benefit from that. So that's why you want to be close. There's no reason, like, see how you two guys are splitting up? You're trying to give them a chance to win. It's simply a numbers game. You should be able to kill them. Alright, we're going to speed this up a little. This is going to want to drive. And then again, see how you're going away from the IS-3? No, you know where that guy is. And you're fairly certain, you should be fairly certain that their artillery is probably over here. So what you want to do is you want to come up on the side of this building right here and then peek around to get him on that side. And then stay safe from that A1 area, or the one line basically. Lol. I must say, you really deserve to lose this. It's like your team was like, oh man, we fought there so much. We had to struggle. So what's the only way we can possibly lose this? Okay, so that's 4 for the 58, I think. So now you should push the T-92. Let's go ahead and push him. Oh my god! Not away! Toads! Didn't I already speed this up? The 55-58 is not loaded, the 92 is. Oh, maybe he is loaded. Lol! Why did he feel the need to use to drive through the thing? No, look that way. Look that way. Oh my god! Trying to lose. Just push him. Just do it. Just do it. Yay! Alright, that was actually pretty awful. Alright, so you did a number of things badly, and yet you came away with a win. So going towards town is fine. It's not that big of a deal. You got to look and see what your team is doing, though, right? And you see that your Centurion Action X is pushing up here, and that you're probably going to lose this west side. And so you have to be aware of that. And that's one of those things where you were sitting in this area for a long time. You got one single shot on the E100, and like that was the only thing that you did for the first half of the game. You got one shot on the E100, and then you might as well have been AFK after that. Like you might as well have taken that one shot on the E100 and then said, "Oh, all right, let's go take a break," because you didn't do anything else. You have to look at the mini map. You know that you're losing this side. All they had to do was put one guy on cap. You lose this game 100%. You have no chance. One guy on cap. You lose this game. No chance. But they didn't, right? And that's their fault. That's on them. So if they're going to be stupid, you need to be able to take advantage of that. But when you're in your position that you were at, which was basically right here at the time, you got to know that they're going to come up behind you. You pushed into here, which is fine. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But you should have been looking out on here. You should have been that guy that's on lookout, because you weren't shooting anything else. You weren't really doing anything else. So you always want to be doing something. And if you can't attack the guys that are right in front of you, you should be thinking about what's going on the rest of the map. Like if you don't want to attack to that JPE 100, that's fine. That's not, I don't mind that. But don't just sit there, right? At least be on the lookout for those mediums coming in so that you're not surprised, so they don't get 2 free shots on you. And then when you're sitting here and I don't know why they were sitting here. They should have just pushed into you and killed you. That would have been the smartest thing to do. It was just you and an IS-3 there, which, for 2 tier 10 mediums should have been easy pickings. But that's fine. So what you don't want to do is exactly what you did. You don't want to poke into a tier 10 tank in your tier 8 tank to trade one shot for one shot, right? That's absolutely to his advantage. Unless he's already one shot, unless he's already so low in health that will give you some sort of net gain, that is not the trade that you're looking for. You're not looking to trade 1-for-1 with a tank 2 tiers higher than you. That is just not what you want. When he's one shot, okay, sure, do that, right? If it's not going to kill you, poke out, take that hit to take his gun out of the game, right? But you don't want to do that if that's not the situation, right? And so they pushed through here rather poorly because that allowed your team time to come back, and that's fine. And then they're like, oh man, we better put one on cap. But putting one on cap at that point, too late. If that 1390 never came over here, and what did that 1390 do? He drove over here, and then he drove back. He's just like, there's nothing I can do here, right? And so, like, we can look at what that 1390 did damage-wise. He didn't damage you guys over here, right? He didn't hurt you. All he had to do was stay on cap when those guys pushed into the town. All he had to do was just stay on cap. They win the game. That's it. But they threw the game by leaving the cap, and that's fine. And you guys went over here and killed them, and that's fine. And then you guys tried to throw the game, because now you have control. Now you have 3 heavy tanks against 2 artillery, right? You guys have all the advantages. The only thing that you need to do is not get picked off one at a time. Don't be so far away that you can't support each other. And that's exactly what you did. You said, what's the only way that we can throw this game? Oh, I know. Let's get killed by tanks with 50-second reloads. And that's exactly what happened, right? So this T-92 killed the IS-7. The IS-3 was over here. You were over here. Neither of you guys could help him. The IS-3 YOLO'd over here. He got killed. You were too far away to help him, right? And so when you have those numbers like that, you want to stay reasonably close together, right? So that if somebody was close to that IS-7, right? Okay, the T-92 shotgun's the IS-7. It happens, right? But the IS-3 kills the T-92 before he reloads, right? And so that's the situation that you're looking for. So you guys need to be reasonably close to each other. And again, you don't need to be touching, but you just need to be close enough that once one of you gets shotgunned, the next closest guy kills the arty. Like there shouldn't be so much spacing there. There doesn't need to be so much spacing there. And then they played that pretty poorly as well. Like what they should have done is, because all of you guys were on low health, is just have the T92 over here where he was, which was fine, right? And then have the Bat Chat like over here, right? Because Bat Chat can overwatch the T92 pretty easily. And once that T92 shotguns the IS-7, then the Bat Chat is just simply on overwatch for the rest of you. And because you guys were so spread out, that actually should have been easy to do. But that's not how they played it. They played it where they were all really close to each other, and that eventually killed them. But so you know, the moral of the story is multiple fold. One, both teams really tried to throw this game. Like, you guys were entirely oblivious to the fact that they decimated the entire west half of the map, that they owned 100% of the west half of the map, and you guys were just like, let them have it. What's the worst thing that could happen? But then they said, no. We're not going to let you throw this. We're gonna throw harder. And so they left their position where all they had to do was put cap pressure, force you guys to come back. One guy put cap pressure, force you guys to come back, and just shoot you for free. But that's not what they did. They all left the cap. They all came to the city to try to kill you. And so you were able to defeat them in the city, which is fantastic, right? Because now all of a sudden you've got control. They sent one guy back to the cap, but one guy on cap when you were already done with killing everyone in the city, that's not going to be enough, right? And so you guys were able to get back and then reset that. And then you have the advantage now. And then you said, no. I got to make this hard. And then you guys split up and got picked off one at a time by artillery. And then they threw it again. They threw it back. This was just a complete game of throws. Because their artillery, at that point, when it's just you, right? When there's one Luva that's one shot, and you've got two artillery that are loaded, all they need to do, stay together. Stay together, drive straight at you. You kill one of them, the other one kills you. Right? But the way they did it was exactly the same way that you approached it. You said, well, let's get as far apart as possible, right? And make it so that when you get a shot, you know, there's the other guy doesn't have a shot at all, right? And that's not what you want. When you have numbers like that, get together. Use those numbers. If they can only kill one of you, right? You know, it's not like you've got an autoloader, right? So this game was mind-bogglingly bad for both teams. And so I hope that you guys understand why. All right, so let's look at the stats. Look at that damage, though. Oh yeah, you were efficient with your shots. That's good to see. It was nice that you were able to get a lot of those shots into Centurion 7-1. I think that's where like half of your damage came from. Yeah, a third of your damage. But yeah, pretty good. That is good. Let's see what they did. Yeah, not so good. Their 1390 went 4 for 12. Should have stayed on the cap. Oh well. GG. I will stop just short of saying well played. You played okay, Robbie. You shot things. I'm proud of you for shooting things. I'm just gotta watch the map. Anticipate those moves, especially when you're not doing anything else. Like if you're busy putting the hurt on that JPE 100 or on the T54 E1 or something like that. If you're busy putting the hurt on them, okay. Like I kind of get it. Like you're busy doing stuff, but you weren't shooting anything. You didn't shoot anything. You know, you had one shot in the first 5 minutes of the game. So when you've got that much free time, you should be looking at that minimap and you should be thinking about, okay, well, if these guys don't cap us out, where are they going to be coming from, so that you're not surprised by it. All right, and next will be Crafty's WZ132. Alrighty, so let's see what's going on here. Oops, there we go. Pretty much the same comp. They've got slightly more tank destroyers, which is usually to your advantage. You can do a loop through this side to spot what heads out over here. A lot of times you'll catch people over here, and if artillery is aimed in, I usually, if I see a light tank going to make this loop, I'll aim into this area right here, because you can get spots through there. And then you'll kind of want to hang around the middle for the most part. A lot of it depends on like what their light tanks do, so it's more of a read and react type of situation. So it looks sort of like you're looping. You gotta be careful because of the T-49 in this particular scenario. There he is. Oh, don't stop! Don't ever want to stop like that, particularly in this area right here, because they actually can shoot you through that lane. So if you want to take an auto-aim shot as you zoom by, totally fine. But don't be real careful about stopping there. And then you can play this area if you want. Your Lorraine 40T went forward, which is, yeah, not so great. We got to see whether he actually gets some support there. But that means that their team did not push up on this side, right? Because he hasn't spotted them through there. You know the Conqueror went around through the back. So you should actually be watching over on this side. Like, because you're weak on this west side, you need to focus on this side over here. Oops, I should probably be locked in. Like, there's no real super great need for you to be sniping over here. Like, I would much rather have you sniping over here because they've got a bunch of slow, tall tanks moving through open areas, right? And that's where you should be lighting and or shooting. Like, this T-49 that's on this side, really not a threat to your team. He's really not doing a whole lot. You're sort of accumulating over here, which is a thing. Your Lorraine, not surprisingly, died. Just a little bit too far without enough support. Like, these guys up here probably got some good shots on these guys. But again, like, this is an area that you want to be lighting or shooting into right now. Like, their light tanks are literally useless right now. They're not doing anything super helpful for their team. And so you're basically sort of being pinned in here by guys that are not really doing a whole lot. And like, these guys camping back here, also really not that big of a deal for your team. You're doing a little too much snipey dipey. At least your artillery is doing some work. See, your guys are pushing on this side. You still want to be able to support them, especially through this middle area here. Like, this area that you're controlling, again, is not really relevant to the outcome of the game. The game is being won or lost right now on this side of the map, and you're just basically hanging out. Like, there's no reason for you to push to where this T-44 is. You can't really help him. But what you can do, right, you can't really help him. You can't really slow them down. But what you can do, your artillery is not on this side. What you can do is help these guys through here. Help clear out through this middle here. There's no reason for you to hang out here. You want to go back to the middle. Remember, the middle controls this game. Or this map. And let's see how this Conqueror is coming through the middle. That's good. Now is when you want to get these light tanks down in the middle. Like, now is when it's actually significant. And so you want to let them have that area. But see, you could be playing in the middle, lighting these guys right now. Because that's really what you need to do. Because now you have a little bit more map control, but your guys are pushing through that A line, which is not really that helpful. That's a good shot. That is not the shots that you want. You need to be careful because the T-30 is right there. Your guys are not in good position right now. You would still rather be over on this A line over here. If you, like you saw the T-54 leaving, you don't know if the T-30 is still coming down here. You might want to come back through here to clear out the SP-1C, just to make sure that he's not behind you. Like, you're doing too much sniping right now, not enough actual spotting for your team, or actual flanking damage for your team. So that T-30 is on the side, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal. But like, you need to be either spotting or dealing damage to these guys over here, because that's where the threat is. Like anybody that's out here is not a problem until they start coming around over here. Lol, and your SP-1C is all the way behind. Oh, be sad. Be sad. Yeah, you can get him out though, and then you can go back. Just charge him. And you still want to play through this middle, control this middle area here, especially if you can spot that T-25/2. Unfortunately, your guys are charging on this A line right now, which is not a good thing. If you can get a light tank out there, you can do stuff, but you still can't move forward very far. It's actually not that difficult to spot like 25/2 from this side. And then you want to be careful because this T-30 you know is coming over here. So now, the further that he moves south and to the east over here, the better shots that he's going to get into the area that you're in. Of course, if he does something silly like this, then of course you should make him pay. Your T-30 will be able to hit him as well. All you really have to do is keep him lit, but it doesn't look like he's got very good crew in his tank. So that's a bonus for your team. That makes things a lot easier. Theoretically, your T-30 can shoot him. Maybe your T-30 can't shoot him. T-54, should be paying attention to that, because the T-30 can also shoot you. You need to run. You need to run. Oh my god. And then now you want to pressure a little bit. Shooting, push forward. And then now you can probably loop back out a little bit more towards that outside if you want it. The 25/2 is not going to move. He's going to be stationary. It's really the 55A that's going to be the threat to you. And then, like, when you do this, you don't want to come across this field like this. You want to either go through the bush line there or the bush line there. You don't want to drive laterally. Luckily, he wasn't paying attention. So theoretically, you can push through here. He's going to be right there. Oh, even the 55A came back, you know. That's fine. That's to your advantage. You want to get up underneath, like around over here. Oh my god. Look at it. No, pay attention. This guy. This guy. This guy. Look at him. Look at him. Please look at him. Oh my god. No, that was the right play. You basically, I mean, the Artie just sat out there in the open. This guy wasn't really in a position to shoot much, unfortunately. I think you would have been better off coming through another angle. Again, you want to be careful driving up through this area right here. You either want to drive, just east to west along this line right here, or this line right here, and you basically want to stop in these bushes because a lot of these guys you'll be able to light. Otherwise, you could have also come around through the one line if you wanted. But I'm guessing this is not going to go well for the T-30, so we'll go ahead and review this as he's driving around the map randomly. What you did at the start was fine, in terms of moving up here. You don't want to stop when you did that loop. You want to be someplace. Oh, he's actually going to kill himself. Well, he theoretically could have won this, but whatever. You don't want to stop out there because it's really easy to get shot from these guys over here because there's no real hill to protect you in this particular area right here. Like if you're up a little bit higher as you go back south, basically the curvature of the hill will protect you. But if you stop out here, like any of these guys back here can just shoot you. And so you want to avoid stopping right there. So if you want to auto aim and shoot at that, I forget what it was the RU or it was a Bulldog, I think, on the way through, that's fine. But don't stop there. The stopping is not your friend in that particular area. And then you came back over here, and then I think this was where you wasted most of the time, was when you were sitting in one of these bushes back here. Because you weren't really helping your team. You had a T-44 over here, but they weren't really pushing that side. All the action at that point was happening right here, and they had a bunch of their JT-88s just kind of hanging out in this middle here, and you want to keep those guys lit. And you can play through that middle to get shots through there. You had some of your team there, but that's something that you want to be involved in. You don't want to be set up on a side where you're not really doing anything, whether you're not really slowing their team down, you're not really helping your team out. Their T-49, their light tanks played that pretty poorly, right? Their light tanks were not really helping out their team. They were just kind of milling around this area. But you allowed that to be a successful tactic by just basically hanging out there and spying on them. But you don't really need to spy on somebody that's not really doing anything. You want to look and see, okay, all the action that your team needs to have happen is currently happening right here, right? And they've got a bunch of their tanks right there. So you want to be involved in that. You want to get a piece of that, especially from this position, because when you control the middle, it's very easy to shoot down into this area where their non-turreted tank, their slow, tall, non-turreted tank destroyers were at. So that would have allowed you to clean that up a lot faster. And then your team made the mistake of pushing through this A line. You do want to still control this middle, which you guys mostly did. You were given a gift when their T-30 moved to that cap, but he wasn't very good, so that was kind of to be expected. And then again at the end, you just want to be careful when you push through this middle here. You don't want to just push up underneath there. You want to come over from one side or the other, either from this west side along the A or the C line, or the one line going north up through here, or even this two line area here where you can surf this ridge. And if you get spotted up here, you can drop down. If you get spotted down there, then you can go behind a rock or go the other way, depending on what tanks they have left. But that should have been something that you should have been able to do. You wouldn't necessarily have been able to kill the 53-55, but all you really wanted to do was get underneath 25/2 right there and make it so that it would be really difficult for him to shoot you. T-55A was not in a position to shoot you there, and then you could have gotten shots on the 53-55 who sat there just stone-faced staring at you out in the open. And unfortunately, nobody shot him. Nobody made him pay. But them's the breaks. All right, so if we look at the stats, 4501, that's pretty good. 19 for 30, that's not so good, but they gave you a lot of shots, a lot of snipey-dipey shots. And again, a lot like the light tank game that we talked about earlier tonight. I think what you really want to do is focus more on getting those side shots on tanks. A lot of times that helps out your team more than you trying to take on tanks frontally. Even if you are quote-unquote successful, you're not really helping your team. You want to be in positions where you're freeing up your teammates, either by killing tanks that are a threat to them, or by keeping tanks that are a potential threat to them lit, so that they can get easy shots. Like you want to. I felt like you needed to create more for your team and less for yourself in that sense. But overall, GG, nice try.